All right, looks like we're live, ladies and gentlemen. Just make some minor adjustments here to the camera system. So hopefully these roads won't get the better of us. All right, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on the face of this plane on this wonderful summer morning or afternoon or evening, wherever you are. Today is today's Thursday, July 27th, 2024. You know, I like to look at the 27th of July as kind of like the high point of summer. I don't know why that is, but that day just kind of just gives me the feeling that we're at the apex of the summer, even though the heat's still coming because we've got August and September in the fall that gives us a lot of warm weather. But boy, this is a really special day in my life and in my book. And I hope it is in yours too, because every day is a gift from God, and no matter what our circumstances are, no matter how dire they are or how joyful the times we're experiencing are, we need to realize that this is not our home and that we do have to treat this existence as a transitory one, and we do have to dedicate as much of our lives as we can to the cause of Jesus Christ, the cause of truth, and literally try to wake others up, folks, because one of the reasons why we have so many problems in this life is because of the blindness, because so many people have not had a spiritual birth where their eyes are opened, okay? And the power of the Holy Spirit can do that, and only through Jesus Christ can that happen. And consequently, that's why there's a war on him and his word. Start in the New Testament, ladies and gentlemen. I don't recommend the Old Testament for anyone, considering a lot of the stuff that's in there. But let's talk about what's going on, folks. This is your host, Joe Imbriano, the Fullerton Informer, coming to you from the busted up streets of Fullerton, California. My contact information is PO Box 4121, Fullerton, California 92834. On the web at thefullertoninformer.com, WiFiDangers.com, VaxDangers.com, CellTowerDangers.com, 5GDangers.com. And for some of my listeners out there who had a discussion with my wife yesterday, Disney666.com is a good place to go if you've got children and you're worried about what's being done to them. All right. So without any further ado here, folks, let's talk about what Joe Biden did the other day, I don't know, 5-6 days ago. He created a permanent office of pandemic response, all right? So this has now become an executive level operation whereby the federal government is going to coordinate pandemic response, all right? Now, let me talk about some of the things that they're going to be taking control of, folks. The Office of Pandemic Response has been created ostensibly to deliver, quote-unquote, life-saving medical procedures and interventions such as vaccinations, medications, and testing, end quote. And in addition, they're going to be leveraging the latest technologies. Now, anyone who can read that understands that it was written so that we'll feel confident in our government's ability to protect us in the event of the unforeseen emergency like a quote-unquote pandemic, right? And so, you know, it's written in a way to gain our trust. It's written in a way to kind of let us know that the measures that will be implemented during the next pandemic will kind of be out of the hands of the local officials, right? Because the Office of Pandemic Response at the federal level is going to usurp its authority and control the response to a pandemic. Now, for those of you who don't understand how our government is set up, the local county sheriff is the most powerful law enforcement and individual in the country where you live. They have the right to say no to federal troops, federal involvement, foreign troops, And they basically have the last and the first right of refusal. Now, is that any consolation to a lot of you? Well, I don't know if you look at who your local county sheriff is. Maybe it's a good thing. Maybe it's not. But the point I'm getting at is there's more centralization of power taking place, because eventually what's going to happen is the federal agency that has been created, this executive level office, is going to answer eventually to the World Health Organization. So they've gone from having local control and state control to regional control, and now federal control, and ultimately world control, right? Well, that's the level in which this is moving and the direction it's going. Now, let's talk about some of the ramifications of this. When we have a federal agency created to control a local emergency, what does that do? Well, it opens the door for complete totalitarianism, folks. All right? Now, they refer to the things that they are tasked with procuring and implementing and rolling out and distributing. They call these life-saving interventions, okay? So you're going to have some sort of contagion that they're going to tell us has been unleashed, whether it be from an alien or from, a foreign country or a terrorist group, or a leak domestically in one of our research labs, or from a monkey that got out of the cage in the truck in Pennsylvania. They're going to tell us that something got out of the hat and it's running rampant. And so they're going to leverage the latest technologies, which, by the way, have been vastly improved, and they won't ratchet them down since the Certificate of Vaccination ID 19 operation back in 2020. So you're going to have full contact tracing, and you're going to have a federal level quarantines, okay? In addition, you're going to have all of these technologies at the disposal of the federal government, such as testing. Now, there are companies that are involved in manufacturing roadside virus testing kits, okay? These are the size of, I guess, a tackle box, if you've ever been fishing, a small tackle box. And, apparently they can be given to law enforcement and first responders, and they have the ability to produce instant results as to the presence of certain alleged microbes or pathogens in someone's body, right? I mean, it kind of reminds me of the slot machines in Vegas and how they're not rigged, right? It's like they can get any result they want out of this little black box. So if we're going to have local law enforcement and first responders having these little magic boxes, and they'll be able to, have checkpoints, and they'll be able to pull you out of your car and take you away to a federal facility like a military base or one of these massive, gigantic prefab concrete buildings with hardly any windows that have had the streets repaved with 2 feet of concrete to handle the tanks and the military vehicles. You might end up in one of these places for a long time, folks. Now, for those of you who thought that this whole pandemic stuff is over, I've got news for you. Remember that Carpenter song? We've only just begun. Well, that's pretty much what's going on here, folks. They've only just begun. They finished the first round, and they're getting ready. So they're getting ready for the second round, and the second round's going to be a lot more rough, if you will. I don't watch fights, the boxing stuff. I think it's disgusting, and I think it's for moronic people. And I think it's really stupid to watch people beat each other up for kicks, right? But I will tell you that as these waves of pandemics continue, each successive round is going to get more bloody, okay? And there's going to be more infliction of harm and more people succumbing to injury, all right? Now, the source of injury in these pandemics is the million-dollar question, which I have discussed at length in many of my subsequent videos. So any of you that are listening to me will know that the solution is always worse than the problem, according to what I expose. So we need to understand that right now is the time to prepare for massive disruptions in our daily lives. Now, when the federal government is creating a permanent office at the executive level called the Office of Pandemic Response, that means that the federal government has plans to take control of everything when they declare this emergency. Last time they ran the certificate of vaccination ID, the certificate of vaccination ID-19 operation in 2020, when they were running that, they let the local goon squad, like the cops and the sheriffs, they let them have their way, right? And they let them kind of run things, and they kind of left it up to the local city councils to adopt the health measures and the guidance issued at the state level. Ain't gonna be the case this time, folks. You're gonna have federal control and military in this one, all right? That's what this means. When the federal government's gonna coordinate the response, that's a military deployment. Now, they're also talking about how there's a recession taking place in the United States. And it's not an economic recession that they're referring to in this particular instance. It's a recession on military recruits. They don't have enough people joining the military. And by the way, they're going to use the military in the Office of the Pandemic Response to carry out the orders of vaccinations and testing and relocations and administering of drugs to people. That military base by your house, it's a golf course, the one that the planes fly into every now and then that's been shuttered for 25 years. The report from Iron Mountain where they were told to close all the military bases. And as they wound up, the Russians and the Americans as the two enemies, and then they wound us down and put the UN in charge of everything. And now they're kind of winding up everybody. All the communist wind-up toys that the deniers of Jesus Christ have created through the Marx, Lenin, Stalin, Castro model, and Mao, and all these communist butchers, right? Well, now we have a situation where these military bases have been shuttered, and they're kind of just golf courses. There's one in El Toro in Orange County that's supposed to be the Great Park. Well, they're not kidding, folks. It's going to be the Great Park. It's going to be an internment facility. They're already putting a very high-level bioweapons lab in there and a containment facility. They're converting the old dorms to accommodations for those that end up getting quarantined. Folks, don't go back to your big screen and your ball games, okay? It's not time for that. It's time to wake the heck up, because they always do this, all right? They always put us to sleep, and then they give us the left hook and then the right hook, right? They, one step forward, two steps back, and then a left hook and a right hook, and then out you go. Okay? We are never being done with these pandemics, folks. There's another one coming, and there'll be another one after that, until they have everybody in the world vaccinated, tested, retina scanned, with a digital ID, with a social credit score in a cashless society, total surveillance, command and control, top-down matrix of eugenics. You know, I think it's hilarious how some people think that as they are on the conveyor belt in the slaughterhouse, they think that if they just keep their mouth shut and they say, yes, ma'am, no, sir, yes, sir, no, sir, to the people running the conveyor belt that's taking them into the butcher's building, that they think that they're going to escape the blades, right? You ever notice these people that are part of the system? You know, they think they're immune from the ramifications by closing their eyes and pretending it's not happening. They're like, well, you know, I'm part of this, you know, I'm part of the upper echelon of society, and I'm educated, and I have all of these credentials, and I'm part of this particular fraternal organization, and I have these qualifications. And by the way, have you read my latest paper? And of course, we need to cooperate with the authorities because they know what is best for us, because they are the experts. And you, people that argue with the experts, are the problem. Or you can turn on the radio, and on NPR, they're going to tell you about all these things that you need to stop worrying about and pay attention and understand that anti-vaxxers are the problem, and that the people that are against science are the real problem with our society, and those are the ones that have to be dealt with. And you need to understand here on NPR that we're an impartial, very balanced operation that gives nothing but both sides of the story. And this episode of NPR has been sponsored by GlaxoSmithKline and Merck, pharmaceutical companies that have your best interests in mind, depending upon your frame of reference and perspective. Now back to our regularly scheduled programming. Are you kidding me, ladies and gentlemen? They got your children watching vampire cartoons, all right? Everyone's got pink hair and some sort of radio frequency receptors piercing their noses, their eyebrows, their belly buttons, and, you know, I can't tell if we're dealing with, well, I won't go any further on that. And they're closing the walls in as the TV sets get bigger and bigger and bigger. What the heck is the matter with everybody? I go to Costco, okay, once every couple of months, I'll go with my wife just to make sure she's not leaving her purse unattended. And by the way, husbands, you better try to snatch the purse and check your wife's sense of orientation and guard. I've done that a few times until I taught her the lesson to lock it up and to cover it up. But when you walk into Costco, which is really the prison commissary for all the inductees that voluntarily enjoy their servitude by going back to a Wi-Fi prison with a bunch of junk food in every refrigerator and a microwave oven on every countertop that food is prepared. The TV sets are almost as big as my convertible now, folks. It's unbelievable. The hypnotic trance that everybody's in. And they just roll out these agencies that are totally illegal and unconstitutional. And just totally, you know, we're totally broke and they have all this money to build the prisons, right? My gosh, you know, if they were really worried about public health. And you know, by the way, public health is an oxymoron because there is no such thing as public health, folks, because every Department of Public Health never tells you the truth, okay? I'm going to go down a list of things. If there ever were a well-intentioned group of people in government, there would be the types of foods that are being produced and promoted with the food pyramid that's in existence today. You see, if the Department of Health and Human Services gave a rat's you-know-what about your health, the first thing they would do is turn the food pyramid upside down, okay? That's the very first thing that should be done. You know the food pyramid? Have you ever seen it? Well, it's a recipe for obesity, okay? It's a recipe for diabetes. It's a recipe for cancer. And I won't even go into why, other than the fact that the food pyramid needs to be turned upside down, okay? End of that discussion. Now, if the government agencies cared about public health, they wouldn't be putting LED lights all over the streets, and you wouldn't have cell towers everywhere. Because let me tell you something, folks, we don't need all these cell towers. They can accomplish so much with so little. They're in place are so overkill, it's totally obvious they're for other purposes, by the way. But all of these things are harmful. For example, one of the most effective methods of torturing people is sleep deprivation. So what does the government do? They allow an organization called the Federal Communications Commission, the FCC, to have total jurisdiction over wireless radiation emission standards. The FCC doesn't have any medical professionals on the payroll. You've got an alphabet agency making health decisions for the general public without anybody on its payroll that's even qualified. So, if the government cared, they wouldn't be putting Wi-Fi and unlicensing frequencies that suppress the melatonin that give you insomnia. See, they're sleep depriving the entire mass of people with Wi-Fi and blue light and white light and cell towers, and making everything have Wi-Fi capability, and making the Wi-Fi enabled mode the default mode on every device known to man now. So you can't sleep worth a darn, and you get sick, okay? And, you know, I won't even get into all these fake sweeteners that, you know, I mean, the diet joke and all the brain tumors. And folks, if they cared about health, they would be giving people land to grow food on, and they would be the primary water and get water out from the deep and produce food. And they would be subsidizing drip irrigation systems and greenhouse materials, so you could grow stuff in the snow. They would, you know, give you a rebate to get a kit to build yourself a greenhouse in Montana, and you could have lemon trees and tomatoes 12 months a year, right? They don't do that, folks. They put you in a stack and pack with LED lights, electrified appliances, Wi-Fi systems you can't shut off, and air conditioning and heating systems that have reactive oxygen species generating systems. And, you know, they have all of these bipolar ionization systems being put into the air conditioners. And they're giving you blue light and TV sets that give you insomnia and make you insane and suck your soul to hell. And their solution to everything is injecting you with stuff, okay? Now, does that make any sense? Uh-oh. They're coming for me! Just kidding. In Jesus' name, whoever's in the back of that thing, may they survive where they're going. That's all I can say. All right, so, you know, we're in a situation where everything is the opposite of what it should be. And the people that are in charge are doing everything they can to hurt us. And all the advice that's being dispensed is in diametric opposition to common sense. And you have people that still go along with everything, right? And nobody's questioning anything. They're just taking everything at value like it's for their benefit, right? Like, do you remember in World War II when the Red Cross was giving out cigarettes to the soldiers? Remember that? Do you remember? I remember growing up, and everybody had an ashtray. There were ashtrays in the delivery room. There were ashtrays in airplanes. There were ashtrays in restaurants. There were ashtrays, you know, I mean, I remember getting driven to school by this lady who lived a couple of streets down, and she just, every day I saw her, no matter what time of the day it was, she was wearing a muumuu and she had a Benson and Hedges in her mouth. And she would never roll down the windows in the station wagon, and we used to call it the gas chamber when they took us to school. It was awful, right? This poor woman, and, you know, she had this raspy voice, and, you know, her husband was the nicest, mellowest guy, and this woman, she's always smoking with her muumuu on. I'll never forget. But she was a cool lady. But anyway, what they did to everybody, folks, they got everybody jacked up on cigarettes, and they put all these chemicals in the agricultural industry back then. I think there were close to 65,000 agricultural patents issued between like 1940 and 1960. And they put it all into the ground, the food supply and everything. People had DDT wallpaper and, they were all, it's unbelievable, folks. I remember going to the store and there was this product line called Germains, right? And it was all these pesticides and liquid stuff in the bottles, and everybody put it in their gardens. Everybody's garage had these bottles of all this stuff in it growing up, I remember. Folks, my point is that if the government really cared about your health, they would tell you that sunglasses are blocking life-giving light into your body, into your eyes. The UV is necessary. They wouldn't be tinting the crap out of everything there is. They wouldn't be giving you blue light screens on the TV sets. The television and the programming and the movie industry would not be putting everything in blue light, okay? Because that suppresses melatonin and keeps you from sleeping, and sleep deprives you and makes you sick. They wouldn't be putting sodium monofluorophosphate in your toothpaste and fluorosilicic acid in your water. All right. They wouldn't be putting microwave transmitters on your nightstand, on the ceiling in the classroom, in the laps of your children. And they wouldn't be putting these flat panel TVs that have these 60 gigahertz transmission systems in them that are going to take your breath away one of these days. They wouldn't be having these virtual reality video games where everybody becomes a satanic avatar from the pit of hell and, morphs into something with a goat head on it that splatters blood all over the world as the avatars with the devil's head and the black spandex come out and lick it up. It's disgusting! Are you that stupid that you can't see what's being done? As they lock you into a cubicle with a virtual reality headset on and Uber Eats drops off the Hot Pockets because you're too lazy to heat them yourself. This is unbelievable. And we've got people like Alex Jonestein and Joe Rogan, controlling the narrative, right? It's unbelievable, folks. I might as well say it. Alex Jonestein and Joe Rogan, they're all about the, the global this and the global that. And, then we got this other guy out there. What the heck is this guy's name? I got to do another program on this Andrew Tate guy because, between him and the Barbie movie, nobody's going to get married if they get away with this. The opposition is just as disgusting as the mainstream, folks. I know you came for the information, but you stayed for the yelling. Anybody that can last more than 20 minutes with me deserves the yelling. Because you want to know something? The truth should make you angry, folks. It should not make you sit there and suck your thumb in the fetal position like the guy on NPR giving you the stories for today. And it's being sponsored by who? By what? What company? The Sackler family has funded our program today. The proud sponsors of OxyContin. It has done so much wonderful work to our infrastructure in our country by turning our young people into homeless junkies. Today on NPR, we talk about the effects of climate change and the proposed legislation to control the out-of-control greenhouse emissions from the combustion of very dirty diesel and fossil fuels. Our expert today is so-and-so and so-and-so who has an A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P degree from ABC, XYZ, and he will tell you all about why you should not have a car and how public transit has the solution and the keys to all of our problems, and they are within our reach if we could just get ridership up. Never mind, they got a bunch of homeless guys with knives stabbing people, and even the drivers don't want to drive these buses anymore, but they want to get you out of your car and put you into a tilt-up with a Wi-Fi router over your head in line for a retina scan and a digital ID and a vaccine. And you can't see the problem, and you pack the lunch and send Johnny off to school like nothing's happening. And you sit there in front of that TV set like it's 50 years ago. It's not, folks. It's not. If you're not upset by what's going on, and if you can't see what they're doing, then I'm sorry. If you refuse to open your eyes, like all these people that are, working for the government and working in these industries that right now are being promised a bunch of zeros at the end of their tenure, you think, let me ask you a question. Do you really think that at the end of the day, that these people who have promised you X, Y, and Z in your retirement after you've done A, B, and C to us, You think they're going to deliver? They're going to throw you in the trash, and they're going to steal everything you've been promised, and they've already ruined your children because you've already handed them over. All right? All right, folks, in Jesus' name, I'm going to close this. I'm just going to open up the scripture and read something here. But speak thou the things which become sound doctrine, that the aged man be sober, grave, temperate, sound in faith, in charity, in patience. You speak, this is from Titus chapter 2, but you need to speak the things which become sound doctrine. Folks, you got to tell the truth. You can't sugarcoat stuff. You need to put words out there that turn into a concrete foundation that people can build upon. That we be sober, don't be walking around wasted out of your mind, and temperate, and sound in charity, and patience. Look, got to be patient, but at the same time, you don't become a doormat, right? And charity involves helping others, telling people the truth, and coming to their rescue, all right? Not fleecing the flock, not lying to them, not waxing your Tesla and laughing at the condition of people economically because you're on the gravy train, because you're destroying children, or you're weaponizing weapon systems, or, you know, like these guys that I went to high school with that, you know, had a 4.7 and now they're working on laser weaponry. I mean, come on! That's what they've done. They've taken the brightest of the brightest and they've turned them into murderers. And I am going to do an Andrew Tate broadcast because I'll be honest with you. Andrew Tate is sucking people to hell and is driving a wedge between men and women because his view of women is not God's view of women. Andrew Tate is working for the deniers of Jesus Christ. He's on their payroll. And he's going to be the subject of more discussion here. And by the way, for all you young men out there that think he's got your answers, let me tell you where you're going to end up. Okay? If you follow a guy like Andrew Tate, you are going to end up sitting in front of a giant television screen all by yourself in the middle of the night with a bag of Cheetos and something I'm not going to talk about, all right? And you're going to be a miserable, pathetic idiot that's going to be looking at yourself in the mirror till all your hair falls out and you've missed the love boat, all right? Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, not Andrew Tate, not Alex Jonestein, not Joe Rogan, not these circus clowns that are on the deniers of Jesus Christ payroll, okay? All right. I want you folks to have a blessed day. And with the truth comes a little bit of yelling. And with the truth comes a lot of truth and the pathway to salvation through Jesus Christ. At the end of the day, folks, I don't care who you are, what you did, where you've been, you can be forgiven. Turn your back on wickedness. Walk away from your bad friends. Change your life. Get on your knees. Ask God to clean you up. You can't do it on your own. He will. Jesus came to save the sick and the sinners. He didn't come for the righteous and the clean. He called those people out and said that they are of their father, the devil, and they're like a bunch of whitewashed sepulchres full of dead men's bones. And he wasn't kidding, folks. He came for us, the common man and woman. Take care, folks. Put him first, and we win. All right, out.